Welcome everyone to the February 4th, 2026 meeting of the Milton School Committee. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Like allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
So we'll start with approval of the agenda. Lizzie, I know you mentioned that you're going to postpone the Capital Planning Committee report. And then I believe we talked about moving up the program of studies discussion.
Yeah, we would like the curriculum advisory committee report to be in tandem with the program studies. So Principal Cahill can be here for questions about it.
Any changes? All right, so I approve the agenda. We will begin with public comment. In accordance with school committee policy, we welcome members of the community to share their perspective with us during public comment. We've set aside up to 15 minutes for this part of the meeting, and individuals may speak for up to 3 minutes each. While the school committee does not respond directly to public comment, there may be opportunities for members to address issues that are raised over the course of the meeting when relevant topics are on our agenda. We strive to engage in respectful discourse during our meetings and ask that public comment speakers keep that in mind. Speakers should introduce themselves for the record. Is there anybody in? No. If you are interested in speaking and you're online, if you could raise your hand.
Beverly Roston is raising her hand.
Welcome, Beverly.
Evening. My name is Beverly Roston, and I live at 107 Columbine Road. I'm here this evening to apologize on behalf of the community for what happened to the members of the school committee that served during what felt like a fiscal crisis. Having been on the school committee right before the challenge became quite apparent, I recognize how significant it was and how the public's reaction may now have impacts on some of the decisions you are making today. I personally worked with budgets with the Boston Public Schools and in my current role, and I greatly respect the need or the want to be fiscally responsible by trying to create a budget that reflects the revenue that you might anticipate. The reality is that is far more difficult than you might think. There is a structural deficit in Milton, but I don't believe the school committee has the capacity to solely solve it without cutting staff every year. I think by working in collaboration with the select board, which is something that I've shared with previous school committee members, as well as Superintendent Phelan, has been the single most effective way that I had worked with funding crises. I hope that you have it in your hearts this year to reconsider the need to build a significant reserve in special education and in the circuit breakers for the purposes of a financial crisis. The financial crisis you all experienced outside of the need for the override was a very unique circumstance that should not taint your view of how budgets are made. Katie has been a very effective member of the staff at the school district. Unfortunately, she's moving on, but she has been able to demonstrate that with good fiscal management, you can create a sound budget that is balanced. I don't believe it's necessary to lay off people in order to prove a point that is, we'll just have money in a reserve to save the day. That's why the town has a stabilization fund. And we've been very fortunate the past few years that we've had positive free cash. We've had free cash that could build up that reserve for them to offer the schools anything this year. But I just do want to emphasize the need that you don't need to solve this problem this year. I know you feel like you're kicking the can down the line, but the reality is every year there is some sort of budget gap, and every single year we have worked it out. Last year was an anomaly. I don't know why it was that bad, but I do think that you should reconsider your position and value the quality of services we've finally been able to piece together to at least run very basic support services to provide for special education, to do things that we couldn't do before when we were running on a shoestring budget. And I think if you continue to work in collaboration with the select board each year, something can be done without proactively laying people off. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Louisa Pena Lyons.
Thank you, Lisa. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a parent in Glover and Pierce. I have two children, and would like to just highlight a lot of the things that Miss Brostany just said. But also have been following along with the conversation and the budgeting process, and I know it's very difficult. Very difficult decisions have to be made. I would love to ask for transparency as the school committee, the superintendent. You all develop the budget for the upcoming years, for next year. My biggest concern as a parent who decided to keep their child in Milton Public Schools and also to be a homeowner paying extra taxes with the override, which passed by over 2,000 votes for a reason, is that we prevent cuts as much as possible. If there are cuts, what would they be? How would they impact students? I've looked at numbers of how many staff members one should have in a district of our size, and we are at the right range. And so I would be interested to know. But I think during such times of uncertainty, what we really want as stakeholders, taxpayers, parents, is for us and our children to have that quality of education for staff members and the incredible MPS team. To not be hit with something so destabilizing, especially during such a difficult year. And I do think that, there could be some compromise and some balancing, and appreciate the select board members who are willing to move things around, but having money sitting in an account, especially at a larger number, to then cut services, cut staff or whatnot, just does not seem like the values that, we have in Milton overall. So more transparency around what exactly you're proposing, not moving so quickly because any of these anxieties around cuts and cuts and cuts, it just kind of like adds more tension and more stress to the children, to the staff, to the families. And so, I know it's a hard one, and I know that it's traumatizing to know that depending on the change of select board members, that you never know, but it is a shared value in a growing one for us as Milton. So I just wanted to share that and to share that, I do think we're in the right size. I have not heard from the superintendent what a better size would be, especially given the number of Title I students that we have in Milton, and understanding that not every student has the ability to have their parents pay for enrichment or extra support at home. Right. So anyways, I just wanted to thank you all for the hard work. I know it's really difficult. And I hope that we can just kind of like not rush the process and take time to just understand what are the different options that we have. Thanks.
Thank you.
No one else with their hand raised.
Anyone else interested in speaking? It's online. If you are, could you raise your hand? No. Great. Thank you. We will move on to the superintendent.
Sorry.
Oops,
I just promoted badly. So
okay.
Sure, she'll decline it. I apologize.
Okay. We will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairperson Serio. First, we want to welcome Angela Trog, who is one of our student representatives that meets with us monthly. Angela is an excited senior who is serving her first term as a student representative to the school committee. She loves to be involved at MHS and is president of the Youth and Government Club, the Asian Culture Club, the Red Cross Club, the MHS Orchestra. Outside of school, she works part-time at Chili's, and that sounds like a pretty amazing resume. So we're so thankful that you're here. It's great to see you on Friday mornings once a month. And please let us know what's going on at Milton High.
Thank you so much. I'm Angela, and although it's the beginning of the month, it seems that we have plenty of exciting things coming up this February. This week is the beginning of term 3, as we all know. Reports cards came out today, and something exciting is that we have the Sweetheart Dance scheduled for the 12th, and it's a school-wide event, which we haven't had in a very long time. So all 4 grades can come. And last week, us school committee members, we met and we talked about a variety of topics, including budget, school calendar, and curriculum. Next, we have the Lunar New Year celebration at Cunningham School in the cafeteria on Sunday, the 1st of February. And excitingly, we have on the 11th, the MHS Music Department will be hosting their annual Valentine's Coffee House Cabaret, featuring performances by several students, ensembles, and solos, which I'm also in. And there will be a raffle with lots of yummy treats for sale. The event will take place at 6:30 p.m. at Cunningham Hall, and entry will be a suggested $5 donation. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much. And yeah,
Thank you so much. What's your favorite thing about Milton High School?
my favorite thing about Milton High School is the community. We're all super supportive of each other and have school spirit. And that is exactly what I look for in a school.
It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Other exciting things that we want to bring to the attention of our school community and community at large, some of which will be repeated by me that Angela just shared as well. First of all, I would like to remind all families to check their school website for upcoming events. There are exciting things happening in every school over the course of this week and the month of February. Last Sunday, we held a Lunar New Year celebration at Cunningham. The Bao, John Wren, and Young and the team put together. We are so thankful for that afternoon not being canceled by snow. We were a little worried about that. Yesterday at Pierce Middle School, the boys and girls basketball team played against Weymouth. They did have a fire alarm in the middle of the game. That was not strategic. It's just how it worked. Thursday on February 5th, the Collycott Science Field will take place, which is tomorrow night, grades 3 through 5 from 6:30 to 7:30 at the cafeteria. And as Angela pointed out, there is a Valentine's Day coffee at Milton High School Cafe, and also the Sweetheart Dance at Milton High School on February 12th. Thursday, February 12th, Collycott Science Fair will be for the K2 students, also in the cafeteria. Some big announcements for things well done for our staff and students. Milton High School Technology Career Teacher Anna Campagna and Milton High School Principal Karen Cahill proudly announced that the Milton High School robotics team qualified for the Massachusetts Championships this past weekend at the robotics competition, and they won first overall in both the qualifying matches. So huge deal for our robotics congratulations. All grade 5 students who participate in the Future Problem Solvers are working hard with their coach, Miss Debbie Green-Buse, throughout the week for a chance to participate in the qualifying round competition. If a team makes the qualifying round, they may be moving up to the state Super Bowl of Future Problem Solvers, and that competition happened today for all 4 of our elementary schools. For sports and athletics, our winter teams are having good success. Both boys and girls hockey and basketball teams are looking to qualify. Our ski team is having one of the most successful seasons in years. That might be because there actually is snow for us to be able to celebrate that. Our great skiers, the dance team has had its first competition. It will happen on February 11. We're glad to see those folks up and participating. Many of our high school athletes have qualified for state championships after their successful performances at the Bay State Conference Open throughout the season. Wrestling is doing great as a team, and more importantly, with some fantastic individual performances. And also, we look forward to exciting news as the season ends. And our spring, believe it or not, our spring season will be starting in early March. That's the update on activities and things at school. And I do have another update for families and staff. For those keeping an eye on the news, the Governor Healy put out a strong statement on behalf of the support that we need to provide to our immigrant students and families. That was followed up by 3 documents that were given to all schools in order to be able to provide clarity on how our schools will respond in the case that we have to step in and support our students and families and staff in the event that a situation arises at Milton. They've also provided support for us to send to families the rights of all immigrant students and how they can access those as families. And they also provided clear guidance on emergency planning fact sheet for when parents and guardians are uncertain about their immigration status. All three of these documents are guiding documents that are very user friendly. We will be emailing them to every single family staff member. We will also be working with the police chief, Chief King. When he returns, he's out of the town for about a week to provide support for our principals, assistant principals, and our administrative assistants who are in the front office. And if something does happen, they are prepared, and create a relationship with the police in order to make sure that we have protocols in place to support our families and our staff in the event that anything is brought to Milton related to immigration and concerns for our staff and our students. We will be reaching out to families. We're also very thankful that the order was held in abeyance for our Haitian Creole families, that has now been held up. We are working in with some of our families who are concerned about that process as well. We are working with those families on an active basis that have been identified, that have been reached out to, and we will continue to do that. It is very important now to make sure that we say very publicly that we are here to support all of our families, our immigration students who are immigrated here from other countries, and that we will continue to do so. And we're thankful for the state of Massachusetts support of that, and the local support of the school committee, the police department, and the staff. Many of our staff have been asking about how we're going to go about this, and we're very thankful for the timing of the governor's announcement and the guidance that she's laid out very clearly for our schools. And we'll be continuing to work with the Association of School Superintendents and the Association of School Committees to hone in on what we can do best to support our families. So please keep an eye out for these documents to be sent out to you over the next few days. You're welcome. That is my final update.
So the next item is the 26-27 school calendar. This would be a vote.
So if we could ask Member Loring to put on the screen the calendar, and would you like me to provide some context? So we traditionally start school in the Milton Public Schools the Monday before Labor Day for staff for 2 days, and then the Wednesday before Labor Day for students. Because Labor Day falls at the latest date possible in the calendar year, we decided to have a discussion about starting school earlier, but basically at the same time frame as folks who normally come back, which is the last week of August. We had several hurdles that we needed to get over, and conversations that we needed to have with our unions, because there's some language in our contracts that have dates connected to them on our calendar. This is why we're having this conversation later than we would like to. We know that our families want to know what the first day is, what the last scheduled day is, so they can get their appropriate coverage for their children around camps and daycare, et cetera. So we have done that work, and we want to put the calendar on the screen and go through what that would look like next year for our families and for our staff. So as you can see, the calendar is on the screen. We are starting school for teachers on the Monday, August 24th, and Monday, Tuesday, August 25th. So those will be teacher-only days. The first day of school for children grades 1 through 12 will be Wednesday, the 26th, and they will have school on 26, 27, and 28. The following week, which now becomes the week before Labor Day, our pre-K and kindergarten students will start on that Monday, and we will have school on September 1, 2, and 3, and we will remain with a no school day on the Friday before Labor Day. That has been something that we have traditionally provided for our families and staff, and we will continue with that practice. Going to the end of the school year, we're doing this so we can end the school year and also provide the 5 mandated snow days that we have to build into our schedule. So with that, with those days of early start, we are now able to go down to June and see that our last day of school will be June 15th. And then we would add 5 snow days to that, which would bring us to June 29th. 23rd, excuse me, which is a much more reasonable way of organizing our school year. What we also have done while we have been talking with our educators, We have also streamlined our parent conference schedule. We will have an early release day in November for parent conferences, as we always do. We will have an early release day in March for parent conferences, and we will be adding a session in the afternoon after school, as well as an early release time for students to go home early and for teachers to stay and do parent-teacher conferences. We are reducing the other 2 early release days to have full days of school. We feel collectively that the early release days are more valuable if we had full days of instruction, and we'll only have early release days in order to have parent-teacher conferences. So we're gaining 2 full days of school with that change. We are also recognizing 2 holidays in the holiday rotation that was voted on by the school committee last year. We'll be recognizing Lunar New Year, which takes place on February 5th, which is a Friday. And we'll be celebrating Eid, which takes place on March 10th. So those are the 2 holidays that we will be celebrating in the Milton Public Schools this year in an effort to recognize all religious groups that reside in the community as best we can. That means we also will not be celebrating with a day off Good Friday next year, and we will not be celebrating any days off for other holidays from all other religious groups. We are choosing 2 a year. That's part of the policy that we voted last year. The vacations, as you can see, there will be no school on December 24, 25, 26, and through the week of January 1st, and we'll return to school on January 4. And we will have our traditional February break from February 15 through 19 and April break 19 through 23. And as always, the first Saturday in June will be Milton High School graduation. This calendar also has on the right-hand side in the colored box only the holidays that will represent and are represented on the calendar. The back of this calendar will recognize all other holidays and all other religious groups and days of observance on the back, so we can respectfully have those dates noted and those groups affirmed and seen on our calendar that will also be published on the website. We appreciate the partnership with our educators in order to get this done. This happens to be a very good flow of work, we believe, by reducing the 2 early release days and having them make full days of school. It also allows us to get school up and running a little earlier in order to end in a reasonable time before the fiscal year is over on July 1st. So gladly take any questions from the school committee.
Just 2 things. One, could we, for the March 18th, just the coloring, could we have that be the same color as the November 18th? I think both those are the same thing, early dismissal days for conferences.
Yep.
Yes. Shame by that. That's a small thing. The only other question I was on the graduation. We obviously remember the issue last year with kind of the schedule of graduation with, I don't know how well we can anticipate those athletic kind of conflicts. Just wondering if that was discussed, considered as best we can, knowing, again, MIAA things in 2028.
Well, yeah, we will advocate for, no conflicts as best we can. There is a large part of that is beyond the control of our athletic director at school, but we hope that they can acknowledge that for sure.
Yeah, I was just mostly hoping, if we traditionally don't have conflicts on that day. And again, maybe there's just conflicts on every day. Looking up at the principal over there. Okay. Yeah, appreciate you looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to the MEA for all their collaborative work on taking this up.
Any other questions? Yeah. Thank you for sure. Just, I know you mentioned this, Mr. Phelan, but just to sort of confirm the approach on the holidays, which will appear on the appendix or the back of the sheet, that these would be days that would be considered excused absences for students, as well as attempts made to avoid conflicts with school events and important academic exam deadlines and things of that nature. That I know that's an ongoing process that will sort of be iterative, but just to reassure the community, whether it's a community who's sees their holidays reflected in the rotation, but perhaps not for next year. And also, people who may celebrate holidays that they do not see reflected in the rotation, that there is not a day off. But I think we can maybe keep owning that, process together. But I do appreciate that, we need to move forward and vote to approve the dates. And it's been really helpful, the opportunity to negotiate that with the MEA. And thank you for your leadership on that. And once we have that full appendix ready is when the calendar will kind of become fully official.
And I agree, Member Carroll, it's worth restating that anybody who is observing a religious holiday has the right to be out from school, inform their teachers or teacher that they will not be in that day. And then the academic work, homework, or quizzes can be accommodated for in order for them to be able to get their studies and adhere to whatever's expected. So if you have to miss volleyball practice, you can miss volleyball practice. If you have to miss school and you have a quiz, you can make up that quiz or maybe take it before the class does. If you have homework due that day, you can pass it when you get back. We fully are in full agreement that we need to accommodate for folks of any recognized religion who want to celebrate their holiday and make accommodations for them. And that's what the list will help teachers understand and again, we still recognize.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes. Anna,
Anna, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John, for the work on the calendar. I think it looks great, and I love all the thoughtful changes that were made, including, limiting the number of half days. I know it's always tough to kind of, on those days to kind of get maximum out of your time on learning. So I appreciated kind of limiting those and going full days to get as much time in the classroom for students. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Anyone else? If not, I will take a motion. The calendar. Oh, right. Let me do. I make a motion to approve the Milton Public Schools 2026-2027 school year calendar.
second.
I will take a roll call vote. Anna? Yeah. Nathan?
Yes.
Lizzie? Yes. Val? Yes. Mark?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Great.
Great.
Next up, the deliberate program of studies.
Yes, we have our first curriculum advisory committee report out. The curriculum advisory committee is this year. The committee met regarding this curriculum issue that happens annually, which is the program of studies. The two members of that committee for the school committee, Bao and Anna, they met with Karen and Assistant Superintendent Calacosa several weeks ago about some of the changes. The documents are in the folder. It will be published on the website as well. And I want to thank Bao for leading the presentation tonight as a member of the committee. Because this is the first time we're at the table utilizing this new subcommittee, it'll be similar to how we do our finance subcommittee meetings, where school committee members will put forward the expectation or what's been delivered at the subcommittee meeting and let folks know what happened, and then ask other folks if they have any questions. But this is our attempt to have all those questions asked in a smaller forum. Sometimes there might be one meeting before it goes to school committee. Sometimes a curriculum issue could take two meetings before it reaches the school committee. That really depends on the questions asked and the things that might need to be researched and brought back to the group. So, Bao and Anna, thank you for being the charting members of this advisory committee, and Carla and Karen, thank you for being here and also being the first group to go through this process. So we have Karen Cahill, principal of the high school, here to answer any questions, and we thank Bao for presenting tonight.
Okay, there's a slide deck. To make everyone's life easier, everything's linked in that slide deck. And I also want to thank the department heads who were present at the meeting as well to answer our questions and provide the rationales behind all the changes and requests. So you can move on to even the next one. We're just going to move on to the first. We're going to talk about the world language request. Number one is that for Latin, we are going to keep Latin 6 on the program of study. But we are not running it because usually students don't even request to attend Latin 6. And we are also, Latin 5, we are also keeping in the program of study, but because of the low enrollments and because we don't have the staff to run it, so they are still in the program of study, but we are probably not going to run it until we have further staff. And for Latin 4 and 5 right now is a combined class, and we are not going to run that as well for the future year. We are going to have Latin 4 as a standalone course, but the Latin faculty members are going to add more units into this course to make it more aligned for and prepare the student to take AP Latin in the future, in the next year. And Latin 4 will be the pre-requirement for students who wanted to take AP Latin. And that's because of the new AP Latin curriculum that was started last year. So all those changes will reflect all those new curriculum updates. The second update request is for Spanish 1 and 2, Latin 1 and 2. We are not going to level them. I'm leveling these two classes. And also for French non-immersion 1, they're all going to be unlevel classes to promote equity, access, and stronger learning by having the students at the various levels, while the French non-immersion 2 is going to remain level because that class is a beginning class at a high school, and it follows a total different track, different entry point than the other languages. Any questions regarding the world language? Yes.
So the decision to not offer Latin 4 and 5 is connected to the preparation for AP Latin.
Correct.
Yeah.
4 and 5 have always been concurrently scheduled together. So just with the more increased curriculum that's required in the Latin 4 to prepare for AP Latin, we're separating the two courses.
And so is that the goal there would be to just better support students to have the option of AP Latin, whereas before they were taking advanced Latin classes, not AP.
The end result is AP Latin, and if after AP Latin, if they wanted to, it really doesn't afford itself the opportunity. They could go into Latin 5 after that.
I see.
So projection is Latin 4, AP Latin.
Yeah, because students, the first time they can take Latin is in middle school.
Right.
And then when they go to high school, suppose that they will go to Latin 2. And so if 9th grade Latin 2, 10th grade Latin 3, 11th grade Latin 4, and then they prepare in senior year, they will be AP Latin. So they really don't have time to take Latin 5 and 6.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the 5 arts. So the 5 program will split the current half-year drawing and painting course into 2 separate half-year offerings, which named beginning drawing class, which is open to freshmen and no pre-requirement, and intermediate painting for students who have more artistic developments before they take this class. But the requirement for this intermediate painting class is the foundation of art and or drawing. So the student will have more instructions at their level.
Right.
And then there will be no, So drawing will focus on the foundational and creative drawing skills and serve as a prerequisite for the several advanced art classes, while painting will provide more in-depth study of color theory, lighting, color harmony, as well as the use of media such as acrylic or watercolors and other painting medias. So additionally, the graphic design and digital photography class is going to go back to being the intermediate level course. This is to address better class size and skill level challenges. And request number 3, I reversed the order. The music studio technology class is being proposed to fulfill a technology graduation requirements due to its strong emphasis on digital tools, software, and media production skills. Yes.
So if I understand request 2, it's this as a class that already works. It's just the change that this class that exists now counts as the technology requirement.
As one of a course that actually satisfies the technology evaluation, along with probably 10 other courses we already know.
Yeah. And then if I'm understanding request 3, the graphic design to do photography, those are intermediate level, which means there's an intro class. So then what's the intro class? Does it vary between the two, or?
I believe that would be foundation of art or drawing. Foundation of art, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We'd like to expose the students to the preliminary foundations of art, drawing, the beginner, and then that would be one of the ones they could take sophomore, junior, senior year if they so choose.
Do you take music studio? Do you simultaneously fulfill a tech?
You do?
Is it free space for something else?
It does. It does.
Yeah. Great question. All right, next we're going to move on to career tech. So the Career and Technology Department proposed to replace the low enrollment Personal Finance 2 course with a new one-semester project-based business elective called Corporate America. And this will focus on career pathways, professional skills, and workforce readiness, giving students practical experience with resumes, interviewing, networking, professional profiles, career exploration, and regular guest speakers. It sounds like a very exciting course. And then in addition, the department also proposed to adding an AP Business with Personal Finance course. It's going to be a year-long college level offering that integrates core business concepts and personal finance through real-world projects to better prepare the student for college, career, and leadership opportunities. And those two changes are recommended based on the student feedbacks. Yes.
What's the prerequisite for the AP business?
Did I not right? That's a good question.
I'll be honest, I don't know what, some of them don't have prerequisites. So that is a course that we're still learning more about also through the College Board. The teacher who had proposed teaching it did an informational session for the students, but is also attending a webinar within the next 2 weeks that College Board is offering. So it's going to give us more information.
I got the question. I got the answer to it.
Personal finance one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Personal finance one, or marketing, sports and entertainment, or introduction to business. So there are 3 courses they can take before they take the AP, this Corporate America course.
Very prepared stuff.
Yes, I am very prepared.
It's fantastic that we're offering more AP courses. It's always great. She gets more opportunity to get college credit and reduce those tuition costs.
Want to thank Karen and the team of her administrators now in the spot where the business courses have been really taking off in popularity. Having personal finance and then adding courses like this to expose our students to this type of rigor and within the business field, because the students are voting with their feet, and these are really student driven. So for the community, the program of studies is just not this thin list of things that we have. As you can see when we talk about prerequisites in the business department, there have to be at least 9 offerings.
Yes.
So maybe 10, maybe 8, but we totally would love for folks to go on the program of studies to just look at the rich amount of course offerings that we have at Milton High. It's substantial, it's student driven, and just to make sure that folks understand, go on and look at the whole thing. It's online. There's a lot of great offerings at Milton High School for your child.
Anna?
First of all, Val, thank you so much for leading this presentation. I appreciate all the work that went into it. I just wanted to just kind of echo that Karen and her team did a phenomenal job taking student feedback and kind of seeing where the overlaps were and just really streamlining this to give more students more offerings, more variety, as well as just making sure, like being so thoughtful about budget constraints and so on and so forth. I know that's always a challenge, but the work that went into this is really, really appreciated and very thoughtfully done.
Actually, I want to thank Anna for sending me her notes.
Me too.
Okay, so we're going to move on to math. So the first one is that we are going to rename the algebra Latin numeral 2 honors and CP class. CP stands for college preparatory, to algebra number 2. Latin Arabic number 2. Yeah. Because that to reduce the confusions with the integrated math Latin numeral 2 class. It's just the letter change. And then we also wanted to create a new math-specific self-paced independent study course, which the name to be decided later, for students who have reached AP Calculus BC, which basically stands for, I believe it's both first and second semester of college.
The APBC sound,
Yeah.
it satisfies, depending on the score that they receive, it can satisfy a math requirement at the college level, whether it's the AB Calc or the BC Calc.
So because of all those letters, so I have to do a little research on that to make sure everyone knows what it is, because I don't really know what they are. So this one is so in case student already reached AP Calculus BC class before the 12th grade, and if they're interested in continue their learning in advanced mathematics topics such as multivariable calculus, that sounds so fun to me. And in that case, they can take this semester course, which is on level and is for pass and fail. But the requirement is they have to be they have to take the AP Calculus BC class first. For more opportunities, yes.
It's less a question, more just a statement. Again, I
Yes.
appreciate all this. I think I continue to just ask the district to continue to look at ways that we can keep providing kind of clear access to more students to this high level math because of exactly what you talked about, of their ability to kind of get college credit. There are lots of college programs where unless you take calc in high school, you don't have access, right? Or you waste an entire extra year when that's a tuition that a lot of students can't afford. And it's not that all of our kids will take AP Calc or should take AP Calc, but just like creating the pathway for the opportunity for those students. Because if you start Algebra 1 in freshman year, geometry, Algebra 2, pre-calc, that's your senior year. And like you're not getting to AP. You're not getting that opportunity to AP unless somehow you're, accomplishing multiple of those. You're getting outside tutoring that allows you to place out of it, like because we're not doing algebra in 8th grade. There's lots of those things which again create like equity access issues with the families who can afford to send their kid to outside math versus families that can't and just rely on the schools. And so I just think that's a huge piece I'd encourage us to continue to look at. Is just how do we get as many kids as possible kind of to that opportunity. And then if they don't want to take AP Calc, they don't take AP Calc. I wasn't good enough at math. But that's what.
Actually, if you're interested about the course sequences for each subject area,
It's in there.
yes, it's in there in the back. So the math classes offered in 9th grade is called Integrated Math 1, and in 10th grade it's called Integrated Math 2.
Yeah, it's an integrated version of the
Yes.
algebra sandwich, kind of
Yes.
traditional algebra sandwich, which again has interleaving and is
Yes.
there's some research that it's a better process, but
Mark, I'm assuming your comment is less about the high school program study and more about what's happening in math in middle school.
I mean they
That the sequence starting back then.
they connect. Yeah, just like how are we building that ramp? We're starting in 9th grade. The ability to get those kids through AP and senior year is really tough.
One of the things I'll mention that generically, not necessarily for math, is that when we start doing things like counting music technology as a technology class and start allowing cross-credit availability to folks, it frees up the child's schedule. So my notes are, for what we've done so far, and this is going to be my summary statement, right now we're increasing rigor for students. We're increasing accessibility to these courses, because we're freeing up courses by having joint credit recovery. We have a lot of student voice in this program of studies. We're increasing the student offerings from the student voice, and we're creating flexibility in their schedule, all without doing anything and adding to our budget, And I agree that for those students who want to excel at math, the ability to free up your schedule, we do have students that take 2 maths in a year. they are those go-getter math students who do want to get into an AP math or make sure they get through BC Calc, et cetera. So there is a pathway for that to do in your public school. And for those students who want to, free up their schedule, they can do that during any given year. Those students are, advocated for, and the schedule works out for them. So that we do have some students like that access that high level.
Any other questions regarding math changes? Next subject we'll talk about is social studies. And the social studies department proposed to change America Today from an A-level course to CP and honors option, as they are going to taught in the same class hybrid model, which is not uncommon, especially in language classes and classes that usually have low enrollments and combine them. And this will allow students to choose the level that best fit their academic needs and GPA goals. This course will continue to fulfill the United States history graduation requirement and require completion of the USI as a prerequisite and reflect positive student feedback while promoting equity, all with low budget or staffing impacts.
Question about that? So if you're taught at a hybrid level, is it the homework or are there more requirements at the different levels? So
yeah, the teachers will go over whatever course it is, whether it's this one or language or whatnot, the requirements as college prep honors, and it affords students who are thinking they want the college prep to go to the honors if they so choose, and vice versa. So there's that opportunity again for whichever direction. Yep.
Great.
All right. So the next one, which is have the most requests, science. But they're all exciting things. So the science department proposed several course changes to improve access, clarity, and academic rigor. So the college prep and honor astronomy class will be offered together. So similar to what we had talked about in the last social studies, yeah. And biotechnology class will be splitting into 2 semester courses called microbiology and DNA analysis, and genetic engineering and protein diagnostics. But the biology class is the prerequisite for both. And these classes is going to run based on enrollment, and we prioritize juniors and seniors to give them the opportunity to take first. And next one is the CP, updating the pre-requirement for the CP anatomy class to biology plus 1 additional years of science, because they tend to have 1 lab.
Yes.
So they need to have skills to do that. And they also would like to expand the honor climate crisis class to offer to all students from 9 to 12. And next one would be the changing the environmental science A and B into a 4-year course called environmental science. That sounds better. Streamlining the language. And they're merging the 2 descriptions together to increase the credit to 5. So currently it's 4 to 5 credits. The pre-requirement is also biology. So the 6th request is to add the language of which is not an update at all, to AP science class to require at least 1 year of science at the honor level, which is to help further enhance the lab skills prior to enrollment in an advanced placement science course.
So advanced placement science courses are available to sophomores and up.
Usually it's juniors and seniors. It's AP Chem, AP Bio, AP Physics, 1 and 2. And usually a lot of students do biology freshman year, and I'm saying non-AP, and chemistry sophomore year. And that's a good segue into junior year, the biochem physics 1 and 2. And it really just helps to have that lab experience prior to going into those AP courses.
Is the biotech class currently a semester class, or is it currently a year?
It's currently semester classes, but they're just finding as time goes on, there's just so much more to cover. So they're making this proposal to see how it's going to go. The enrollment can be the same for both classes.
Is there a prereq for astronomy?
No, and astronomy is an elective also. And, when I was reading all of these, the student feedback in astronomy and social studies classes, that the students really want to take these classes, but they are so driven. They really like to have the opportunity to have these classes impact their GPA and how they're doing. So that's why we're looking at putting the classes together, the honors and the college prep together.
Last one is English. So the English department is looking to allow the drama class to count toward the fine and applied arts credit. And is considering offer a unified drama option class. Because right now we have unified music class, music and art and so MPE. Oh wow! So will be a great addition to this unified courses. There are also a range of CP and honor non-AP senior elective to provide the student with diverse and engaging literatures and social studies, so such as sports and society, world literature, literature to film, dystopian literature, African American literature for honors, and sports and society. Oh, that's duplicated. Okay, so there's a range of honors classes and CP classes that's offered to students of all levels. So the world literature class, there's honors level 1 and there's a CP level 1. Hold on. Yes.
I just want to thank the Milton High School administration, Karen Cahill, and the students. I think our speaker tonight, Angela, mentioned that she just loves the students that she goes to school with. The students are driving the unified classes.
Yes.
And we have unified art, we have unified athletics, we have unified PE, now we have unified drama. This is building culture in the school. Students are, asking for and including. This is inclusivity. This is community at its best. When you know that the students who are working with next to a student who may have a substantial disability, and they're asking for them to be in that class, to take part, that they should be involved and they should be seen in those arenas, those classrooms, at that sporting event. It's just it's amazing to watch, and it's an amazing place to go to school and work when that kind of environment is engaged at such a high level, not just by the educators, but more importantly, the students. This is exactly what it's supposed to do. This is exactly what that's supposed to look like. It's wonderful to watch every day.
I think all of this is amazing. I will say that the idea of the unified drama is great. I mean, I know that there's a lot like with unified sports, but I think this can sometimes be historically more of a hurdle, maybe. And so but the fact that you said that this is student driven really, it is incredible that if that's how that came about. So I think it's wonderful to add this to the curriculum.
Thank you, Pop.
Go ahead.
I just have a quick question. It's really great to see the timeline for the process.
Yes.
As a new middle school parent, I'm like, oh, wow, this is just a lot going my way.
But the only thing that you need to know as an incoming 9th grade parent is that February 26th,
28
or 26th,
From the study side.
your program Saturday night. That's the only thing that you need to remember.
No reminders, tips.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be an 8th grade parent to go to that.
It's a
You can just
go to learn.
It's 6th grade.
That's a great reminder for sure. My quick question is regarding, I know we've been sort of discussing the running theme of excitement for accessibility to high level courses and wanting more opportunity for AP courses for our students. I'm curious, and I see here noted, which is helpful,
that teacher recommendations obviously will be shared. That then there is an recommendation override form set to families, which means families are ultimately in charge of the decisions, either where the students end up. I assume that goes both ways. Yes, for students to be able to opt into higher level or lower level than they're being recommended to take. I guess maybe a parking lot for the curriculum and instruction advisory committee, or just a future conversation when we're looking at our data, which I know is something we do periodically. I'm kind of curious if we have any data around those overrides and the extent to which families' decisions to override the recommendation, like what results from that, and what success do students find or what challenges do they find when they choose to override the recommendation. I'm sort of finding myself curious to know, like, is this a common thing that families choose to override the recommendation? It's interesting if so or if not, but it's also interesting, like, do most of the students that choose to override ultimately succeed in the course they choose, or do they face the challenges that seem to be anticipated in the form? So anyway, if we could just maybe think about that at whatever point it naturally fits in.
So,
Put you on the spot.
I'm happy to speak to all of that. Before the teachers even make the recommendations, whether it's at the PS or at the high school, teachers had one-on-one conversations with the students. So I'm the math teacher because that's what I did. I'm the math teacher, 8th grade math teacher. Here are all the courses that you can take at the high school, right? So I'm going to sit down with each of you and tell you what I think is best for you. The override form, actually, part of that is not just parents and students signing off on it. It's also that student and parent having a conversation with the teacher on the why. So I recommended you for this, but why do you want that? And it's great conversation. I can tell you, we looked at those numbers before, and probably, and this is rough, this is off move, no more than usually 30 students per grade are filling out that override form. I think students transition in pretty well regardless of the grade. What we make clear to the students, and it's just the honest truth of, in middle school, you think of, I'm on a team, so if I have a schedule change, well, there's no level. When Pierce had that leveling, you were still within the team. And at the high school level, if you're making that schedule change, you just want to be mindful of what it's going to look like because your teachers all might switch. So yeah, exactly, that domino effect. So we talk about that with the students, but we definitely, do our best to collect that information and include the department heads, the family, the guidance counselor, current teacher, new teacher. There's a lot of steps in order to have that happen.
Principal K, can you talk a little bit about that similar process related to how you're getting students into small seminars during the day about what AP means, and what courses look like, so they can make good choices before the time period is up. So we're reaching out farther to students and educating them on what it looks like, et cetera.
Absolutely. So at the Pierce Middle School, we used to go into the classrooms. We're doing general assemblies now. And at the high school, because APs usually, you can do an AP Stats or an AP Micro sophomore year. This is our second year doing informational sessions, not required. If you're interested in AP, it was January. January, we were doing informational meetings during advisory. So kids didn't have to miss their bus, miss athletics, and offering those AP informational sessions for anybody who wanted to go. So to help them make that educated decision, it was during advisory. They didn't miss any classwork. They could go to the library or the auditorium, depending on what they wanted. So this is our second year, and it's been really good feedback. So I go to the informational session now. I select the course. At the end of the year, I go to that mandatory meeting now that tells me what do I have to do over the summer, possibly to do work to prepare for the fall. So really trying to let students know what you were saying earlier, all of their options that are afforded to them, regardless of the level. Thank you.
Trying to break down barriers of, I don't know what that means, so I probably won't take an AP course. Right. But now you can just walk in during advisory and find out what it means. Look at the course load. Think a lot about it. Talking home with folks at home, a parent, guardian. Maybe talk to your teacher. I'm thinking of taking AP Calc next year. Talk to your teacher and find out if that's an idea, what your grades look like. It just generates good conversation with students on trying to scaffold some folks to higher level coursework.
And just to compliment that we have AP ambassadors, which are high school students who have taken the courses. So they're at these informational sessions as well as someone who did take the course to provide that student perspective feedback for any student who has those questions. And I'm hoping they'll be at the program of studies night as well.
Okay, great.
But again, appreciate the information. I think I echo sentiments of information on. I just think as much as we can provide access to more rigorous instruction, kids so much more often raise and meet the level of the rigor we put in front of them versus wilt. And so whatever we can do to give more students access to the honors curriculum, to get opportunities to push them into AP. They might not think, I'm a big believer in AP for all. Research around that and what that means in terms of student outcomes and access to college and success and persistence through college, all of that. So I'm really glad we're adding another AP course. We've got a lot of offerings, great things for kids, and I just continue to push the department on just how are we trying to increase access, increase participation in those things, because every kids deserve kind of that opportunity to see themselves succeed, see what that looks like, so that again they have options. They might not still choose to go to college, but they have options, and I think that's what we want for all of our kids: is the most options available correctly. One thing. Hey.
Comment on this. We have a large fleet member in the audience. I want to say all of these nice changes and these adaptations to our program studies are cost neutral. So we just want to let folks know that this is happening in a creative, thoughtful, strategic way to know cost. Not adding any teachers, increasing curriculum accountability, student access, and offering some flexibility to the budgets we have.
I did have one question. You mentioned earlier when you were talking about sort of what's accomplished, and one of the things that came about was the student voice. So how did that come about? So where is the feedback from the students coming from? The recommendations, surveys, is it just ongoing communications? Is it something you guys are doing? How did that?
A few different things. I actually have a principal advisory council. I've had it since I started to be principal, and one of the drama as a fine and applied arts credit, they actually came to me, they're like, Principal Cahill, how come that doesn't count? I'm like, that's an amazing question. I've been doing this job how many years and I never thought about it. You're absolutely right. In the English department, it's been years in progress, reflecting on the books that we're reading, the courses that we've offered, and just the cleaning up that we're talking about really is because of the student demand and what the students are interested in. So it's just very different ways, and we have done some surveys, but it really is, yeah. Which my door is always open, and they'll just walk in and say, hey, by the way, and they do that with the teachers as well. I really do feel we have that type of an environment where students can come in and know that they can have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's coming. Love to see you at program of studies night.
Everyone excited.
Yeah. Thank you.
We would like to thank you. We would like to introduce as the next presenter, Martha Sandoval, directors of schools. Martha is going to provide an update. As we talked about at the beginning of the year, what presentations mean and what they're here for. Martha will be with us again in March to talk about the business side of community schools. She will be at our early March finance meeting to talk about schools, the community schools, and how it increased the tuition, like building up her budget in order to provide the wonderful services she does before and after school. This presentation is only a celebration of some of the highlights to give people an update of what community schools does and offers students and the great things are happening. After Martha does this, and we can have some questions. The other important meeting we'll have in March is to talk the discussion about finances. I just wanted to frame the meeting. I think it was when Lizzie and Amanda and I were meeting at the beginning of the year. We always want to frame the purpose of the presenter and make sure that we're answering the questions that we want. So this is a good news story highlight of the community schools, and we'll have a business discussion of community schools in March. So thank you, Martha, for being here. We appreciate you presenting tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Superintendent Noyes. That's right. I'm here to provide you with an update of all of the good things happening in community schools. And I'll be focusing on how we deliver on our 2024 expansion commitments and what we're seeing across enrollment, quality, staffing, and how we're planning to sustain safety, quality, and access for families. Okay, so go to the next slide. So that's just a quick overview of what I'll be covering tonight with the expansion commitment, moving through enrollment trends, lottery and enrollment trends, waitlist card status, improving inclusion, curriculum, staffing systems, site highlights, and finally your current priorities and what's ahead. And this is going back to spring 2024 when we committed to expand the program. There were many changes that they had to happen in order to do that, in obviously responsibly and safely. And this included increasing flexibility through partial attendance options. So versus having just a 5-day option, now we have 2 and 3 days for before and after school. And that has allowed us to accommodate more families overall. We also restructured our staffing and improved recruiting and training systems, which I'm going to cover in a little bit. And in the last 2 years, we have successfully expanded inclusion supports, and we have shifted towards interest-based programming, and we obviously continue to proactively play the part in anticipated challenges. And then these are the lottery trends. I wanted to provide you with just a comparison from when we started instituted the lottery process in 2024-25 and the increase that we've seen across from this year. We shifted, as you know, from the first come first serve system to a lottery system for the before and after school programs. And this was trying to align it with the district's pre-K and French immersion programs. So you can see the enrollment growth by site and overall participation. These are the number of participants who submitted a lottery in the spring of 24 and the spring of 25. So went from 623 students to 746 students. We saw a significant increase in grades 1 to 5 applicants and a decrease in incoming kindergarten applicants as a result of losing one of the classrooms at the Collicott school. All of them had a decrease in kindergarten except for Tucker. Actually, Tucker was the opposite. He had a 53% increase of incoming kindergarten students. So that we were able to accommodate all the incoming kindergarten that submitted an application during the lottery time. Then the next slide. These tables reflect the ACE current status at the time of the lottery. So waitlists were highest with Glover with 44, followed by Collicott with 28, and no waitlist at Tucker. Basically, we didn't have a waitlist the previous year. We still don't have a waitlist for Tucker. We're able to accommodate all students there. And then after accounting for assignments, any cancellations, offering alternative attendance options. The original waitlist have been reduced to 11 at Collicott, 3 at Cunningham, and 12 at Glover. Obviously, that is since the lottery continued, we're maintaining an active waitlist. So we're back to adding more students after that. So that brings the numbers up again to Collicott. This is our current waitlist. Collicott 18, Cunningham 15, Glover 19, and again, no waitlist at Tucker. I didn't mention it, and I apologize for not adding that information here, but we don't have waitlists at the early school program. We didn't have them last year. We don't have them this year. And in fact, the trends at Collicott and Cunningham, the numbers are actually going down every year due to the breakfast program now being free. So we currently have 14 students at Collicott, 27 students at Cunningham, and the Glover and Tucker still maintain higher numbers because obviously the school starts a little bit later. There's more families need the program. So we have Glover, we have 60, and we have 68 at Tucker. And I can include that information in the slides. Yeah, go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So, since January 2024, we have partnered with the National Institute of Out of School Time, known as NIOS, and they're out of the Wellesley College. We're working with a dedicated coach who supports continuous quality quality improvement across all the ACE programs and as well as the summer camp. So this work really focuses on three primary areas. One is through program observations. The second one is through training and coaching. And number three is around students' feedback. In regards to program observations, we used a tool that was developed by DESI in collaboration with the NIOS called the Assessment Program Practices. And the observer comes in and she assesses each program from transitioning from school, students transitioning from school into the program, attendance, recess, snack time, all transitions, including also activities and clubs till the end of the program. The second area around training and coaching. So mainly the coaching is with our leadership team, so our site supervisors, and the training is for all of the staff. In that, here are some examples like staff engagement and facilitation of activities and clubs, community building, addressing challenging behaviors. And then the third area that we've been working with is the feedback. This is the third year that we're going to be assessing students through a survey, and we use third, fourth, and fifth graders. They complete a survey online, and this is just to find out more about what their experiences in after school, their goals, what they've learned, what they want to see in after school. If they feel supported, if they feel also challenged. So that is another way how we obtain feedback from our students. So that is really important work that we continue doing. And just a side note, I became really involved with this work that I actually became a certified observer myself, and I had the pleasure of observing some programs last year in the Boston area. So it's a very interesting work, and we truly believe that it's really helping us identify strengths, but also like potential recommendations that are actually doable, and we can immediately start. And then in the next slide, thank you. We've done tons of work around inclusion, and how we went from planning to actually practicing inclusion. We implemented clear protocols, working on proactive strategies, consistent site support, and increased collaboration with all schools. The inclusion team under the leadership of our new inclusion coordinator, Ms. Becca Barney. She is in charge of the team who assists students who need any support during programming, promoting equitable access to enrichment and social opportunities, and meaningful participation in all sites. And some of these supports, just like examples of them, so like it's regulation breaks, visual tools, communication supports. She has built what we call a comm card at each site, and has all the many tools for students to use as their comm space. It's very challenging to find a space in after school where students can go when it's quiet and they can just take a break. So she has managed to put together this cards which have been really helpful for students. We also have she's in charge of hiring what we call inclusion aides or inclusion aid support. Their supports at each site, and they go through a very they go through a 6-module training before they can even start. And another improvement was that we really increased collaboration with all schools, and including the student services department. Yeah, we appreciate your support, and all of our staff has access to ongoing support on a weekly basis. There's rotations where Becca goes to every site and provides that ongoing support, not only to the inclusion needs, but also to all of our staff. And just want to share quickly a story that recently happened during summer camp. We were contacted by the adjustment counselor at one of the sites, and they were asking about a student who can interested in attending our summer vacation camp, but I was very worried because I need a lot of support and whatnot. So we took the initiative to meet the student, talk to the parent. The kid came to camp and had a blast, and he made a lot of friends. And now he's coming to our February camp, and we're hoping to see him in our summer camp program. And like this, we have many success stories about students and receiving this type of support, which really strengthen our programs. Obviously, there's some challenges, like everything, and we see continuing increase in students' needs, individualized attention. Also, with large number, it's hard. And then that requires more staff. Ideally, we like to have 2 inclusion aides at each site. And right now, we're still looking for more candidates. So what we've been looking into is utilizing ABA paras to become inclusion aides in the after-school program. Another challenge is that they have limited hours. So we're trying to piece schedule so our students continue having that support in our programs. And then the next slide. This year, we proudly expanded our ACE Club programs. We now place greater responsibility in the hands of our group leaders and counselors. And while we're reducing reliance on third-party vendors, we used to have probably about 8 vendors, and now we're down to 3. So we still offer karate, we offer coding, and what's the other one? Oh, chess wizards. So now we're really placing a lot of our focus on group leaders and even our high school kids, facilitating these enrichment classes. So under the leadership of Ms. Corey Norzai, who was our administrative assistant now / curriculum coordinator, so she does both. She provides that on-site support. She developed this lesson plan, which was part of a recommendation from the observation from the NIAS organization. And then these lesson plans are intentionally structured to reflect all the recommendations, including where we score lower during these observations. And it also gives the opportunity to collect and respond to students' feedback. Good. This is just a quick example of Ms. Norzai took the test on polling students in the fall and the winter to try to find out more what the interests of the students are. The first table reflects is an example of the Tucker after-school program. And what kids were voting for. What's in blue is the clubs that are actually now in place. There's some clubs we're still trying to work on, like Taylor Swift. I don't really know what that looks like, but the kids love Taylor Swift. And our kindergarten students also took Whirlpool, and Artigraph was obviously a big winner. And they have really fun ideas like going on a bear hunt. And I don't know what it looks like, what it means, but we'll give it a try. Again, like everything, all challenges, it's been a little bit hard to implement this type of curriculum to staff trying to buying in to this. So why do we have to write lesson plans? This is so boring. We just go to the gym. It's in reality, it's something that they have been doing all along, but now it's actually documenting it. Get more intentional about it. So it's also like facilitating activities versus assisting, and then appropriate spaces to run clubs. Sometimes there's a parent teacher conference, so we have to pivot, right? And then weather, all right, we have to pivot, and we have to look for other spaces. So like there's also staff absences, which can disrupt the consistency of operating these programs. I also want to say that there's been a huge impact and expanded these interest-based activities in collaboration with our inclusion coordinator. It has led to increased student engagement reduce behavioral incidents, and definitely establish a stronger and more inclusive after school community. This is about our strengthening our staffing systems to support our program expansion. Ms. Kate Connolly, who is our assistant director, has been instrumental in building consistent, sustainable staffing systems across community schools. Under her leadership, we structured hiring, onboarding, and evaluation practices to create greater consistency, clarity, and equity. To improve candidate and fit, we structure phone screenings and joint on-site interviews, helping set clear expectations and improve match quality. We also did a lot of work on staff readiness through consistent onboarding practices, including site-based orientation, shadowing, dedicated time to review policies, procedures, and we also developed a new employee handbook. This year, we also launched a biweekly staff newsletter, which is modeled after a family newsletter to improve communication and connection with our staff. The newsletter highlights announcements, events, inclusion practices, activities, safety updates, self-care resources, and any employment opportunities within Milton Community Schools. We also implemented ongoing staff support around inclusion, curriculum, and day-to-day operations to promote staff effectiveness and retention. To support their professional growth, we also redesigned the performance evaluation process that now includes an employee self-reflection and in addition to their normal evaluation. And finally, we expanded staff training in safety, curriculum, inclusion, PBIS, in specific responsibilities to ensure teams are well equipped to support increased enrollment, diverse needs, and overall program quality. I want to say that this is one of our biggest challenges with staffing. There's a significant turnover of staff. I was talking to Superintendent Phelan last week, and so we have about 130 people on our payroll. Oh, that's great. Yes, but not all of them work Monday through Friday. So we have to always piece together schedules, parents who can only do 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and they can't have that commitment to Monday through Friday. So we are trying to be very creative with it. So we recently established a substitute system. So you bring the parents or food services workers who can only work a certain amount of hours as substitutes. So if there's 2 or 3 people out of a program, which is most every day, we immediately call them, text them, hey, you work after school today? Yes, all right, I'm there. We are also planning to develop a strong what we call senior counselor in training with the high school students. Currently, they are not counted in a ratio. Next year, we really want to develop a program where they go through extensive training, practice, and develop the skills they need, so then we can count them in ratio. We have very, very strong high school students who are now in our program, and some of them started last year, some of them just started this fall or even this winter, and they have the skills to definitely help us as a group in the ratio program. Another initiative is that we do have a partnership with Curry College. We have a couple of interns, and we're looking to expand that opportunity, as well as a potential apprenticeship program that is in collaboration with NIAS and DESI. So I will tell you more about it. I'm really hoping that it comes to fruition. So, and then I asked the supervisors to provide me with just some highlights of their program. They are in charge of the before and the after school, as well as the vacation programs and summer camps. This is their call. I'm not going to go through all of it, but colleague got Mr. Owen O'Brien. He's a new supervisor this year. He has been a para for an ABA para for 3 years at the Collegiate School, and he loves what he does. He's very popular with the students and with the families. I'm going to read this part just because this is coming from them and not me. So at Collegiate, we've seen strong gains in staff communication and inclusion. Students demonstrate leadership and kindness, engagement is high, and families consistently share positive feedback about the program. Collegiate's current goal is ensuring consistent planning and club facilitation. that is Collicott. And then Cunningham, we have with over 16 years of experience at community schools, Ms. Bortolotti, known as Ms. B. Ms. B says, at Cunningham, new roles significantly strengthen safety and supervision. Strong relationships, especially with high school counselors and trainings, supporting positive behavior, confidence, and leadership with meaningful full circle experience for former state students. So former students who come back as workers in our programs. Cunningham's current goal is enhancing student engagement, staff taking initiative to build strong relationships with more students. And then we have a Glover, Miss Katie Squarey, who's been in community schools for 5 years. And she brings 15 years of experience at the YMCA's programs as well. Miss Katie says Glover highlights strong social emotional growth, inclusive practices, family engagement, and staff-led enrichment. These elements work together to support both student success and staff retention. Glover's current goal is supporting staff and strengthening skills in managing challenging behaviors. Have Tucker. This is Miss Jessie Conley with over 10 years in community schools. Miss Jessie Conley brings her dedication and expertise, especially in family engagement. She's been instrumental to program success. Tucker continues to thrive as joyful, high engagement programs. Students identify ACE as a highlight of their day. Staff-led clubs promote ownership, and junior CIT opportunities nurture leadership, confidence, and responsibility. Tucker's current goal is increasing team collaboration and strengthening transition procedures. Those transitions can be chaotic. And then we have our summer and vacation camps highlight. We just opened enrollment for our summer programs on Monday, and happy to report they went very smoothly. And we have been working really hard and listening to feedback and taking into account. So we opened enrollment early this year. We used to do it in mid-March. Now we started early February. We have now more flexibility, offering weekly sessions versus bi-weekly sessions. Swimming tests are now going to be conducted weekly, and there's no need to pay for membership at Cunningham Park. It is also already included in our tuition. We successfully launched Camp Tucker last year, and we continue. We want to again offer Camp Tucker. Obviously, Camp Cunningham is very popular. The pool is right there, but Camp Tucker is great. Kids had a blast last year. We had Miss Van Hill as the STEM curriculum coordinator and facilitator. They also had water play every day. So I understand the need of just wanted to go to the pool, but families also can combine camps. You can pick some weeks here and some weeks at Tucker. Last year we served a total of 289 students, 87 at Camp Tucker, 219 at Camp Cunningham. 17 participants did both camps, and we were expecting an increase in Tucker attendance this year. Our vacation camps continue. We just ran our December camp at Cunningham with 48 students. Last year, February, we ran it both at Collicott and Tucker with 80 and 61. April, 72 and 40. And we're currently offering, again, February camp at Cunningham and at Tucker. And so far, we have 64 participants at Cunningham and 46 at Tucker. Then I'm almost done. Just want to, this is just a summary as we look ahead. Building directly on the progress we shared tonight, as enrollment demand continues to grow, our focus remains on managing that growth responsibly while maintaining safety, quality, and access for students and families. We will continue to work with Sprinton and Phelan and the school committee to refine a fair and equitable enrollment process to ensure transparency as families navigate access to our program. We continue to survey school-based programs and would like to present our findings at a later time for discussion. Inclusion remains a core priority, which with inclusive practices embedded across all programs, not only just the after-school program, which is in the summer camp, which is where we are right now. Quality remains central, and safety remains central to our work. We will continue sustaining high-quality, interest-based programming that reflects student voice and promotes engagement. At the same time, we are deepening partnerships with families and schools to strengthen communication, alignment, and shared support for students. Safety and staffing stability continue to be foundational. We will maintain safe staffing, coverage, and supervision while strengthening staff retention and pipeline development support programs with team. Finally, to ensure long-term sustainability, we are examining fee structures, as Superintendent Philip mentioned earlier, to better align with surrounding towns and program costs, taking into account staffing, safety, and quality needs, allowing us to sustain the program responsibly over time. And we will be ready to present it to you at the finance subcommittee on March 4th. So we'll be ready. So I want to thank you for your time and try to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to say how grateful I am for our community school as a working parent family. If there's no community school, that is impossible for both of us to be working outside the house for that long hour. So thank you so much for providing quality service here and the children. And I'm also very excited to hear that the swimming pool fee is covered by the camp fee because that was such a big hassle.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very awesome to hear all those changes and all the recruitment efforts that you put in with the high school and the career college program and the personal professional development that you did on your own as well. And it just feels, I feel very positive for all the changes that you're bringing in. So thank you so much for our leadership.
Totally agree about the your ability, like the solution you all put together to sort of create differentiated enrollment. Sure, it's so complicated from a staffing perspective, but my kids have been in after school, one or both of them, for 7 years, and we wouldn't be able to do it without it. And I know a lot of working families in Milton feel the same way. I had a question for you. So there's 15 or 20, depending on the school, 15 to 20. I don't know if they're kids or families on the wait list, still students on the wait list. Okay. Just could you characterize for us, like, what are the limiting factors that prevent you from clearing the wait list?
Definitely staffing is one of them. We try to operate on a ratio of 1 to 13, 1 to for grades 1 to 5, and 1 to 10 for kindergarten. And we have never been to ratio like where we need to be.
You went too high.
No, because we don't have enough staff.
Right.
So number one is staffing, and it's the constant call outs, the constant. We actually, I don't think I mentioned this, but we lost since the beginning of 2025, 12 staff to Milton Public Schools full-time jobs. So it's impossible to compete with that with no benefits and 3 hours in the middle of the day. So it is not a new challenge. Has been always, even pre-COVID. That's for most after-school programs. It's a big challenge. That's one of them. The other one is space. People tell me all the time, well, if you have 600 and plus students at Cunningham, why can't you just accommodate them? After school does not take place in classrooms. It's not realistic. It's not what kids want to do. So our main spaces that we use are the cafeteria, the gyms, outside, art rooms, which they keep changing, and we keep losing music rooms and computer labs and whatnot. Library, colleague at Cunningham was a huge loss this year. So that's what limits our capacity, and obviously safety. If we were a licensed program, there was no way that we would be operating these numbers. I'm going to bring to you at the sub-finance committee and later on a comparison so you can see what other programs are doing in numbers, in terms of numbers and fees. And I'm part of a group just called the Extended Day Directors. And there's about
32 districts, and they're all school-based programs. We have very similar challenges. So it's not only, and also Milton, it's a unique situation because there's no other alternatives in the town. Look, the responsibility falls on us. So we're always looking to, for example, like partner with the CAS classes or the Glee and Richmond at Tucker, to see how we can, if families who might not need the care until 6 o'clock, they only need 1 hour, they have that option, right, to attend those programs. But again, they're also in the building, so they're also utilizing space, or we're sharing space with them. So those are the biggest factors. And we're not able to accommodate everybody. And every year keeps growing the way as I show. We try to prepare for what's coming, and but there's always more and more.
I just a thought I had on this. It's going to be, you're not going to like it, but I'll just throw it out there just because I get it. Like there's so many constraints. You should talk to the guy in charge of public schools about stealing your staff. No, but we've all been on airplanes where they strategically over-enroll their planes. I'm counting on people not showing up. And I'm sure you have an absenteeism rate of staff absences as well. But I wonder if there's something to look at with if you count on a certain level of student absenteeism, and maybe you can strategically over-enroll your program counting on some kids no showing on any given day. Maybe you already do that. I don't know. Okay. But, for those 15 kids.
Right. And I want to say that we started this last year where we were keeping a very close eye on attendance. And we send out in our newsletters, please, if you're not utilizing the program, you're going to get a warning. And then you might be a removal. And we follow through with that.
Yeah.
And have tons of data on that, spreadsheets with exact numbers every day, how many kids get picked up at 3:30, how many kids get picked up at 4, because we're watching those trends. Like if you're not sad to say this, but some families, it's easy to enroll because they don't want to wait in the car line, right? And they're picking up their kids at 3:45. So is it a need? Is it? And it is not. We're not in the business of deciding who needs it more than others, right? But I definitely have that information. I'm collecting that information, and we follow through. But so you're not utilizing the program. Sorry, we have a wait list.
Sure. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for the program and everything you're doing, and the improvements. I've been really excited to see. And also the pipeline, like the high school students are awesome, and it's really cool to find amazing babysitters and also just watch my kids find role models at the high school that make them really excited for their own futures, including the opportunity to come back and be teachers at the after school program. And yeah, just love our experience. So thanks.
I'm sorry if I missed it. Enrollment numbers this year versus, because obviously the goal here, as you shared, was 2 years ago, huge demand, right? Great ramp last year and provided a lot of opportunities this year as well. Do you have those? Or
Capacity?
Just, what you're currently serving, how much that changed. Obviously, we see the lottery trends, like the demand, as you said, is going way up. Also, who you're serving.
The numbers are on the wait list status slide. The current numbers, how many students are enrolled per site. Our daily capacity at Collegiate, Cunningham, and Glover is 150. Tucker is also 150. Oh, yeah, we have available spots there. What's different in the last couple of years is the 2 years ago, our capacity was set at 120 per day. But we always started the school year with, let's say, 100 because we were still recruiting, even though we recruited the entire year. Last year, we also did the same. We started at 100. We started at 130, and then we got to 150 when school started.
So we were at capacity when school started. And this past year, we just started at 150. And that we were trying to remain very confident that we were going to get enough staff to get started.
Yeah, I mean, I think the growth in the program, the amount of kids served, like that kind of feedback we heard from the community, your ability to implement that is phenomenal. I look at this list, like the things you have worked to accomplish as you're growing your program by 20% and establishing an entire HR improvement process from hiring and management and performance reviews and professional development and creating an entire teaching and learning curriculum around all these things and the student engagement process and the improvement with inclusion. That was another thing that came up previously, like the number of kids who just couldn't come because you didn't have the right staff to support them and how much that has changed. I mean, all of that is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm just really in awe of how much you changed. You added an entire summer camp in 2 years. And so it's just a lot of work, Martha.
Yes.
And so I really impressed by that. And I just echo the sentiments together. Like my wife and I both work. We could not do this without community schools. I think there are amazing things about Milton Public Schools, amazing people. But my day starts and a day ends with your program, with your staff at Cunningham. And I can't tell you how much they make the experience amazing. Like my kids feel so cared for and loved every day. They're just in my experience, the best part, because I see them just the most. They're always so kind and caring and hold high expectations and communicate beautifully, and just it's a fantastic program. I'm so thankful.
Oh, and no Miss B's listening to this, so Miss B says, oh, thanks.
She knows how I feel about her.
We love you, Miss B.
Yes. And we have a phenomenal team. I couldn't do it without them. It's not only my work, all of our new supports in place. Every single one of them is really passionate about what we do, really invested. And we're seeing the progress, right, and the improvement. There's still a lot of work to do, right? But that never ends. I just couldn't be prouder. So thank you for your support.
Just wanted to follow up on something that Mark talked about, and I appreciate all of the work around inclusion. And I'm wondering if you have any, and it's not for now, obviously, any information, data around sort of how, I don't know really how you track it, but the degree to which more kids have joined who maybe need support than previously did. I mean, my kids are 18, and I know when they were younger, there wasn't really the ability for one of my kids to do it because there just wasn't that inclusion support. Like there wasn't the staff or the training. And so I think it's amazing that this has become more accessible to a lot of families who don't necessarily have that resource, especially before school, but also after school. So if you, like it's, I don't know, I know you track sort of everything, but if there's any ability to kind of really measure the impact to that community, I think that would be really helpful to see how that's grown and become more of a resource for an underserved community within this kind of environment.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We're actually funny that you mentioned that. Today, in speaking to our inclusion coordinator, Ms. Becca Varney, one way we started measuring data or obtaining data was by the number of incidents last year versus this year. Also, any breaks that we had to issue for students would, something happen. So versus previous years to now. And then how many students we are now accommodating with that need that kind of that level of support. So she's working on it. I don't have the data right now, but I'll be happy to share it next time for sure.
Because I think it's a great story to be able to share. And I think it's sort of success begets success, right? So the more families realize there is a resource or an opportunity for them, for their kids to be included, the more, the more people join or sign up or help in the lottery. So yeah, it's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I want to end with Martha has professionalized this organization at a very high level. When I left 12 years ago, it did not look like this. This is a seventh school. This is a seventh district principal who has budgeting responsibilities, professional development responsibilities, HR responsibilities, everything that Mark ticked off on his list, bringing in third parties to evaluate, assess, and then responding to that. And I picked up very clearly that when we went through each school, Martha was able to name the school program goal or goals for the year, very specific. And I can't tell you how wonderful it was last year when I walked in after being away for 12 years and seeing Lynn Bortolotti. He gave me amazing, just an amazing person who I hadn't seen for years, who's been serving the children of Milton forever. The longevity of the program and then the innovation of the program combined is just wonderful for the town. So thank you for your leadership. You do a wonderful job, and we're really thankful for you to be here tonight. So thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you for your support. You good. Appreciate you.
So we have 3 good news stories in a row tonight. And we appreciate our Director of Student Services, Danielle Wetmore, who's going to come over and present for the mid-year update on her work in student services throughout all 6 of our schools. And Danielle, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your patience in going near the end of the rotation. We're very excited to be able to offer this update similar to the one for Martha's Community Schools. This is just an update. There'll be no follow-up unless we have things that we'd like to discuss moving forward throughout the year. And we're really happy to be able to have you here to represent all the work you do with our students in our schools related to inclusion and access. As you can see from the 2 presentations that already went forward, that theme is actually throughout all 3 of these presentations. And it's really nice to see the special education updates that are happening within the programs that we're talking about already without any this being coordinated. This is just being embedded in our schools. Access, inclusion, respect, value, and truly valuing our members of our school community, one and all. So, Danielle, thank you for leading the group and leading that culture work and leading that work. So, thank you for being here.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be one of the first things I said was I'm so fortunate to work with people like Mrs. Cahill and Ms. Sandoval because their sense of community and belonging for all of our students has been really easy for me to participate and meet with them and talk about how we can increase the diverse needs of students and increase opportunity for them. Martha and I did a lot of work my initial year to figure out how to find creative ways to support students in that environment, in the after school environment, to give families that opportunity to have the before and after school care. And Karen didn't give herself enough credit. I think we had 53 students want to be included in our unified track last year. 53 general education students. We're super excited. It was packed in the gym the first couple of weeks that we were in there. So it just this sense of community and belonging for all of our students is just such a heartwarming and exciting thing for me to do every single day. So anyway, I thought it was important to start with that. So thank you for having me tonight. I look forward to sharing all of our progress in the special education department this year and of course the past 2.5 years that I've been here. So next slide, please. I thought I'd ground my presentation in the special education program review that was done in the spring of 2023. I think it really brought value and tangible goals for us as I entered the Milton community. And it also helped us, like I said, ground ourselves in what the needs of the special education department were. And so I'm going to start talking about the 3 areas of focus that we found in systems development, communication, and professional development. Next slide, please. So during this 2023-24 school year, we received the special education program review. So we conducted a task force with a multidisciplinary team. Anna was part of it. And we did a thorough analysis of the program review and determined an approach for our highest level needs. Within that task force at the end of the year, it was evident that we really needed some vertical alignment of programming, which also included clarity, common language, and a consistent understanding of what our students need and what is least restrictive for all of our students, and what our students need to qualify for programs, sort of that entry and exit criteria, to ensure that they're an appropriate match for the program, that they're getting the supports that they need, but also that teachers aren't stretched with differentiating for students with such a wide variety of needs that they didn't meet the program support. Additionally, clear communication across disciplines was evident. A lot of feedback around the family school communication, but also with administrators and special ed teachers, related service providers, and general educators. So there was just a common lack of clarity across the district. So that was a highlight for us. And then finally, a continuum of professional development, which was also noted. That included meaningful PD specifically for special educators, related service providers, instructional assistants. A lot of feedback we got were our educational assistants weren't afforded opportunities that were organized, and for our related service providers and special educators, just having meaningful professional development for them. They were included, but there's a difference between inclusion and meaningful inclusion. So we wanted to make sure that we were providing them, affording them the opportunity for meaningful inclusion instruction. And then finally, and I think it's an ongoing conversation, is our improvement in our tiered systems of support, or MTSS. So that is a lot of the work we're doing, and really ensuring that students are receiving intentional support in their general education classrooms, and making sure that we're not over-servicing our students and providing that rigorous instruction. Those are our sort of highlights for the program review and what we've been driving our work over the past 2.5 years. So the three focus areas were really in systems development, communication, and professional development. So I will talk about each of these areas, some of our successes thus far, as well as some of our continued areas of growth, and that are sort of goals over the next couple of years. So our first area, which I think if I speak to any of the related service providers, special educators, or anyone in our department, this development of systems was a highlight everywhere, just in terms of organization. It was the driver of a lot of other areas, including communication and PD. Oops, sorry. My apologies. So the special education team has done a lot of work through systems development. Historically, I think one of the major pieces that was missing within the special education department was a vertical alignment of programming. Every school had a program with a different name, and so you weren't sure if you were at the elementary social emotional program that had a different name than the middle school, which had a different name than the high school, and the entry and exit criteria was different across the board for each program. So there really was no alignment or understanding to even be able to think about how we're using curriculum to drive some of that instruction. So we aligned all of the program names and created a common understanding of student profiles within those programs. It was a long process that was vetted through all stakeholders, including special educators, related service providers, our CPAC, our administrators, our curriculum coordinators and directors, and really just getting a common understanding of the programming. That program guide was released at the end of last school year. It is on our website and also part of our monthly newsletter, which I'll talk about too. We've also successfully rolled over our IEP platform to special programs. Our student information system is, let me back up really quick. Some of our improvement in programming has allowed for a decrease in our out-of-district students. We've been able to bring back a handful of students, and it has prevented us from historically students that we've sent out for therapeutic environment or for language-based programming. We've been able to keep in the district with creative programming using our program guide. So that's been really a wonderful opportunity. I actually was in a classroom the other day with a student who returned, and he just looked so happy. He was getting rigorous curriculum. He's a super smart kid, so it was really nice to be able to see him be able to prioritize his learning. In addition to that, just an added, we created a multidisciplinary team this year to really make sure that we were continuing to make sure that that vertical and horizontal alignment for all programs was maintained through a process of being able to train and support those who are curious about our programs and whether or not students might be a good match for some of those programs. So just really thinking about how we approach our programming across the district. We've also, like I said, successfully rolled over our IEP platform to special programs, which is a Power School program. It was a multi-year task. What it has done for us has been really, really valuable for our families and for our staff. We are able to digitalize our special education files, so easier access for team members who work with students. We have a digital signature process now, so that instead of having to email home with parents' permission, we're able to digitally send that. We're getting consents back at a much higher rate than we had historically, so we're able to really adjust our work with students and sort of meet their child plan needs at a much quicker pace than historically. We've also, and then I think the other piece that I think is really valuable that was in our newsletter a couple of months ago is that we've opened the parent portal option so that parents can receive progress reports, their IEPs. They have more easier access to it than reaching out to our department and saying, can I have a copy of the IEP? It's actually accessible right through our portal, which is a wonderful option. Finally, one of the really cool things that we've done and have had and has been a budget cost support has been enhancing our ability to have a variety of evaluation materials through our Dolls Plus library, which is a Pearson support. It's cost effective and it allows for our evaluators in academic, psychological, adaptive speech, occupational therapy, and physical therapy to have many more options to evaluate students using a variety of tools. It also helps with culturally appropriate evaluation. So we have more options to be able to evaluate students from different backgrounds and cultures and different needs in many different ways. So it really helps us sort of streamline what our students' needs are and give them the supports that they need. Next slide. So our vision moving forward is our team chairs and our school psychologists right now are working together on a district-wide understanding of our federal and state special education disability categories. We have some really, in the state, some of our categories can be confusing to both parents but also teams when they're making a decision on a student and what their needs are. So we're doing a district-wide alignment of what those disability categories are, how they look like, what test scores look like, and just doing an overarching with the goal of having a training after and just really thinking about how we identify our students and then be able to drive some of their service delivery needs through that approach. That also will help with not over-servicing our students. One of the things that we have found is that, without the data or without clear, concrete guidance or guidelines, it's sort of teachers are like, well, this student a para would be really helpful for this student, but there's no sort of data or reasoning behind it. It's just this feeling of making sure that kid feels supported. And so we all feel supported with extra help. And sometimes it creates an environment of learned helplessness. So we really want to align these things across the district so that also that parents' experiences and team meetings are equitable across the board and kids are getting what they need across the board in the same, using the same approach. Additionally, we're looking to expand our program guide by having an alignment and common understanding of special education language, things such as co-teaching, inclusion, least restrictive environment, common terms that, I could flow out all day and it's really hard to understand from a general education teacher what a least restrictive environment is versus what is over-servicing. So just making sure that we all have common language and a common understanding of that language. Again, I sort of mentioned this before, but really ensuring our approach to individualized service is aligned based on student need. So that is some of the work that is driving some of that district-wide understanding of our educational disability categories. Alongside that, having a common understanding of accommodations and modifications. Some of this work, and I think it's with, Carla's department as well, in terms of what is tiered intervention versus what is higher level individualized education program accommodations and modification versus what can be done in the classroom differently or more creatively or using a tiered intervention approach. So really starting to assess and align a lot of that, which again is a multi-year sort of multi-step process. That is a district-wide goal of ours. And then finally, as I mentioned, aligning the utilization of educational assistance to ensure that we are building independence and not learned helplessness. Some of the work that we had started doing last year that sort of got halted with some staffing changes was a task force in educational assistance. So picking that back up again when hopefully we add an assistant director here, so to be able to pick that work up again and really hone in on what is the value of an educational assistant, what is their purpose, how do we look at an educational assistant versus a co-taught class versus a pull-out session. So just really thinking about student need and driving our decision-making on student need. So that's sort of the work for assistance development. Our second area is in communication and building a structure and system for clear communication with all stakeholders. So when I started in Milton, there were a lack of consistent meetings across the board within the special education department. So we created a system to meet monthly with special educators in each building. So I meet with all 6 buildings once a month. I also meet with related service providers once a month to work specifically with their discipline. I meet with building administrators once a month, as well as our CPAC monthly as well. I also meet with our team chairs weekly. So our team chairs is a more, and I'll talk a little bit about them in a second, but we meet weekly really to focus on some of the goals around system development, but also they're the face of our special education, right? They're the first people that parents see when they're entering into the child find process and the special ed process. So really working with them to make sure that we are committed to providing our students with the supports that they need. Again, I meet monthly with our CPAC leadership and also attend a portion of their monthly CPAC meetings to really give updates and open the door to questions or comments that parents have to really get an understanding of what their needs are and make sure that we're driving a lot of our work and making sure that they're included in that work. This year, I rolled out a monthly special education newsletter that goes out to everyone. And I think we've gotten some pretty good feedback. It includes important dates. So we had ESY rolled out in the December newsletter. It has student voices every month, which is my favorite part, is hearing what kids like about winter and snow. We also have information about our CPAC, contact information, and then we also include helpful information around homeschool communication, tips for supporting students at home, resources for families, and then just learning opportunities around, for example, special education language or acronym definitions, things like that, to really help, again, drive that overarching understanding of special education for all stakeholders. The other piece that we are continuing to align and I think have had a lot of success in over the course of the past couple of years is the grade level transition between schools. For example, preschool to kindergarten. I actually met with preschool today to talk about kindergarten transition and what that looks like for our students in a least restrictive way. Our 5th to 6th grade, our team chairs in 6th grade are absolutely wonderful and making sure that our 5th grade teams know what to expect in 6th grade for special education, and our 8th to 9th grade. Some of the growth in this area really has been around school visits. So our 5th grade teachers going up to 6th grade to see what's going on there. Our 6th grade teachers going down to 5th grade to see what's happening there. Preschool to kindergarten formalized meetings to talk about students, and the same for the 8th to 9th grade as well. As I mentioned, team chairs play that critical role in homeschool collaboration and communication. They're typically the first point of contact for our families when a student enters the special ed process. So we meet weekly to work on district alignment of systems and communication processes, making sure that every parent has the same experience no matter which school that they go to, and that they're receiving and afforded the same opportunity to provide their students with a least restrictive approach to their education, ensuring that our Programming is rigorous for them despite their level of need. So a lot of that work is done during these weekly meetings, and making sure that our parents have that universal experience, and our students do as well. Some of the work that we are continuing to do is updating our handbooks and our guides. So we have a 504 handbook that needs updating, an IEP guide that we're looking to create, as well as a procedural manual within special education. Again, providing that training and support to ensure common understanding of special educational language across the school community for all stakeholders. I've talked to the CPAC a lot about how I can engage the community. Is it through recordings of, common understandings of definition? So we've really been sort of playing with the idea of how do we provide our general educators, but also our special educators and our families with that consistent language so that we can provide those opportunities. And then again, that continuous work with building and district leadership to provide that rigorous experience in all these restricted environments for students, that ongoing work with them. And then our final area is in professional development. And as I mentioned at the beginning, Carla and I have worked together throughout the course of the year to create and provide meaningful opportunities for our educators, collaboratively just building a community of adult learners who learn from each other with their own individualized expertise, creating opportunities for tiered strategies and supports for our teachers to be able to drive some of that work in the classroom. We also have increased our opportunities for related service providers to receive relevant training. So in January, our occupational therapists and speech and language pathologists were able to use some of their time in the afternoon to go to their own training that aligns with our district's priorities, but also it helps them by giving them the opportunity to, get licensure type credits for them as well. So it's sort of a double dose for us. We've also aligned our safety care training for faculty and staff. So historically, staff were pulled out this month for this or that month for that, and it was really disrupting our students' learning, especially our students with higher needs who have one-to-one support. So alongside our BCBAs, we've worked over the past year to really align that and make sure that we have those monthly training set aside, that everyone is being notified. It's actually here in this room usually, so it's kind of fun. So really just ensuring that alignment and that we're minimizing disruption of our students as much as possible. We're also this year, our educational assistants, professional development opportunities felt more organized than I think it has since I started. We had training in data collection, executive functioning. They got the full or first part of behavior de-escalation techniques of safety care. They actually have an inclusion strategies or executive functioning training next week. So we've been able to really give concrete training for our educational assistants that are in the classroom with our students all day. And then finally, one of the things I was most excited about was last summer we were able to offer district opportunities to receive Orton-Gillingham training for special educators. It was a pilot last summer. I wanted to see how it rolled out. We had some interest. Teachers are now interested. We've asked what's easiest right after the school year or in August. Definitely, we can't do it during the school year just because it's a 3-day training, but really thinking about, and if you want to change the slides on the next slide, really thinking about a year-long or a multi-year plan of switching off between Orton-Gillingham and Lindenwood Bell, just because they both address different types of learners. So we want to make sure that our teachers have access to both of those opportunities. So I think what the consensus is having some sort of June rules-based reading training for our special educators. If there's room, our literacy specialists and our JAG teachers, if we have room to expand that over time. But it has been really valuable. Our teachers are super pumped about it. They want that experience. They want that accessibility. So really being able to give them that and afford that is really a goal of ours. Again, continuing to align the structure of safety care as well as our educational assistant opportunities. And then our focus on improvement in multi-tiered systems of support, which I've mentioned a few times today. So those are some of our goals for the upcoming, our vision in terms of our work in progress. Questions?
Do you have any numbers? The out of district placement stuff, obviously, that's been a budget driver we've talked about in the past. Also, just a cultural improvement of like wanting kids to be educated in town, with your neighborhood kids, things like that for access. Do you have any numbers on, how those out of district placements have decreased? How many we're still serving out of district?
Yes, so we have about 49 that we're still serving out of district. When I started, we were at 65. There have been obviously some students who have graduated and not needed, postgraduate or have graduated at 22 years old. We've brought back a handful of students or moved them to a least restrictive environment. So when you think about the budget aspect of it, really being thoughtful about how we support our students both in district and out of district in a way that's least restrictive. So our out of district coordinators and I have done a ton of work around asking the right questions in those meetings to make sure that kids are still receiving the support that they need in that environment. In an out of district environment, none of them are ideal. There are strengths to all of them to help students with their needs. But when you think about putting a lot of kids with social emotional needs in the same environment, you're getting good and you're getting challenged. So we want to make sure that we're always asking the question of what else does the student need? What data do we need to bring them back to district or to a less restricted environment? So that work is being done there while we're enhancing our programming here.
I just want to add to that point some strategic staffing that happened last year, adding an adjustment counselor to some of our programming so we could actually enhance the depth of the program at the middle school and the high school. The training for our Morgan Gillingham and other rules-based reading over the summer in order to provide that service at a higher level and a higher quality so students don't leave, because that might be one of the reasons why they're not getting what they need. We can provide that more expertise. I think it's really helped those numbers and how we support students. And it's really great to see the strategic thinking around that. And it might mean from a budgetary perspective that we're putting some resources up ahead of it in order to make sure we can go out and say, we have this now. So the added resource might not impact as many students in the first year, but will build over time, and the reputation of the coordination of the program builds over time. And that would create a space for parents to feel like that child would be served well in that program. So all that working its way through the district, which we think is great, specific to that point. But I have a few other things to say, but I want to.
And with it, just to add on to that too, with the expansion, we have a program that we piloted at our high school this year, our RISE program. And then we also have a program called Foundations. Without getting into too much detail, we have 4 students right now. And I think one of the other things I love about the Milton community is that parents are always asking, what opportunities can my child have to be back in their community school? They're really advocates for their children. So being able to afford them this opportunity is great for us, but also it's really nice to have students and families back feeling part of their community. So developing this RISE program, Foundations program, we have 3 students who are itching to get back at the high school level and 1 at the middle school. So it's really, so we're working on that actively right now.
So I would say that the increase of PD, the training for our Unity folks, the feedback that we're getting from our staff, that Danielle gets from the service providers in Unity, and that Carla gets, because we're asking teachers and Unity members what do they want PD for our Unity staff, and enhancing their skill set in the classroom and utilizing them at a higher level is one of them that we've been getting in all sides of our PD requests. So I want to thank Carla and Danielle for hearing that and responding to it, not just around safety with the training that we're doing systematically now, but also around other skills that are, especially as service providers who sit in a math PD and say, why am I an OT and sitting in a math PD? There's a differentiation of the PD offered, especially on our full days, which is actually driven by what staff are asking for, and then offering things that they can go to so they can get their PD connected to their work every day with students and families. And I also, just from a good news story, if you ever want to come to Milton High School at 7:20 and see every single Unit D member and every single teacher from our programming that supports the students that are in our, programs, and just watch how school starts every day. It's the best part of coming to school at 7:20 because you can see all the adults there 15 minutes early to make sure that they're watching the kids and the young students get off the van or come out of their parents' car and be greeted every single day with the warmest smile, the warmest welcome, good morning. And it's every day. Every day. And when Mark came in the other day, you saw me holding the door for some of the students. It's my favorite part of the day. It's my old lunch duty when I was a principal. That was the best part of my day. So the inclusion culture that we are developing, it has been developed over time at all of our schools. I just happen to work at the high school. It's just amazing. And I'm very thankful for that culture in the Milton Public Schools. Danielle, thank you for being a big part of that as well. Moving forward, there is work to be done, and we're scoping it out and we're making it work. And I really like the effectiveness of the team chair meetings that happen on a weekly basis, the consistency of those meetings and how we interact with our families, what we offer them, and how we use the data to determine what those placements can be and should be. And this whole discussion about over-servicing and under-servicing and making sure that we're getting that just right, because over-servicing is not good for kids either, and neither is under-servicing. So really having that hard conversation with ourselves as a staff and as our team chairs, and then being responsible to have those hard conversations with families, because that's really hard to have, especially at the early grades when we're really introducing this process to new families. So thank you for your work. I appreciate it. And this is a very good news story in a work in progress like all of our work is. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
Oops, sorry.
Okay. I do not have anything under the chair's report tonight. We will move to the finance subcommittee report. Here.
First item of business is the vote on the FY26 second quarter report. We talked about that at the last school committee meeting. Finance committee voted on it our last individual meeting, which was last Wednesday. So it's supposed to just accept the report and the financial transfers that are outlined in the portion. So want to make a motion? Any questions on that? I will make a motion to approve the Milton Public Schools 2020. Nope, that's the wrong motion. I will make a motion to approve the FY26 second quarter report.
Excellent.
Great. We'll do roll call. Anna?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Nathan? Yes. Lizzie?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Very much.
Okay.
Okay. Budget discussion. We had a meeting with the select board finance committee. The town administrator, chair of the warrant committee, was nice enough to attend as well. Had that just before the school committee meeting, essentially. So really big thanks to the department staff, John and Katie, as well as my other committee members, Nathan and Amanda, and kind of on the work here for quite a while since 4:30. So really appreciate them. The update is positive news. The numbers continue to develop. The select board and the town administrator have continued to work diligently, trying to update revenue forecasts, expense forecasts, which we greatly appreciate. We shared our last committee meeting that the number had transitioned from kind of 2.1 million down to about 1.5 million. The newest update is due to, I think, primarily some fees. Sorry, a little blank.
Excise tax.
Yeah, primarily because of that, the number has moved even further. The gap for the town revenue gap is $1 million, and so our the school's FY27 allocation, as compared to our level service requests, is about $1 million short, which is obviously much improved from the 2.1. So again, greatly appreciate the select board, town administrator, director of finance of the town, Amy Dexter, all the folks involved, Joanna McCarthy, for working on that. There's next week is our finance committee on Wednesday. We will get an updated kind of budget draft from the school department where we'll talk through that remaining $1 million. The town administrator was pretty clear in the conversation that doesn't expect the revenue forecasts really to change much at this point. And so it's kind of where it is. Select board expressed still openness to kind of have continued conversations, but this is something we'll kind of take that number and have that drive our discussion next week, talk that through, and then obviously bring those discussions back to the board so that we can have the conversation forward. In addition to the million or the decrease in kind of the gap, the select board and town administrator also offered the idea, which I might have shared at the last meeting, the $500,000 of free cash allocation to the school department to support the building back of the reserves. That's something that obviously you talked about here as a budget priority, is building that kind of sustainability within the budget. They heard that and offered that as a potential avenue that would help support that, and also might allow us to reduce allocations or increase kind of our usage of some other funds from the state in order to further offset that $1 million. So that was some discussion, some ideas suggested by the board committee chair and the members of the select board. And so that's a point of discussion that obviously will be something we'll talk about at finance, we'll bring back to the school committee and keep talking through as it relates to our plans for FY27. I think just to name for the kind of public comment piece and the concerns that have been brought up, there's two things I think we talk a lot about. Like, this work is hard. It's not, the town doesn't have just a bunch of revenue. They're not giving to the schools. It's hard work that select board town administrator does. Really appreciate what they do. I think in any budget process, what we've talked about internally is the balance of the 1 year versus the long term, and not wanting to jeopardize either for the sake of the other. And like that, there's just natural tension within limited resources of how you balance those things. And so I know those conversations are difficult. We know that the communications that we send out around kind of the financial gaps can be concerning for families. They obviously want stability. They want to maintain high quality or improved product from the Milton Public Schools, and they deserve that. They deserve the best possible schools. I think that's another tension too of like we want to be transparent and upfront, which is why we share this information with families. We don't want them finding this out secondhand. We want them finding it out for us, but we're not trying to cause panic. We're just trying to keep people informed. So we will continue to do that. And again, I appreciate all the diligent effort of the subcommittee members, the department, and everybody else involved. That is the update.
So I only want to add that we have made a commitment to provide what the budget could look like in terms of its what kind of reductions, if they need to happen, what would they be? And we will be fulfilling that obligation at the finance meeting on February 11th, which is a week from today in the morning session. We would then expect to have more dialogue about it at finance committee on the Wednesday morning after February break, which is February 25th, and then present that fully to the school committee the same night on Wednesday, the 25th. There is going to have to be discussion related to the conversation we had tonight about the reduction list and what that looks like in connection to the additional 500,000 and how that can weigh into this or not, and how that may or may not go into the revolving funds to increase the capacity of our financial balance sheet, which, again, competing interests, both good uses of funds, but how do we balance that? But I also want to remind this group in advance of next Wednesday that when we started the school year, we talked about being good stewards of the dollar. We talked about wanting to make sure that we were creating systems. So we had a tight budgeting process that was highly monitored during the year, which we have accomplished thanks to Katie and a lot of the systems she put in place. We also talked about revolving accounts and trying to make sure that we can build back those accounts as a goal, and also when we thought the budget was going to be at 5.2 or in that early fall time, still looking at trying to see what can we realign our resources for in order to have better impact on our students in our classrooms, in our school buildings with our educators. So we'll be presenting not only any potential reductions as a result of this gap in funding, we will also be presenting some of the creative realignment of resources that we feel are important in order to impact programming for next year. So I'm saying that out loud because this won't just be here's the amount of money we have to reduce, here's a discussion about how many folks are going to reduce. There's going to be another list that says, we did not fill the technology director position this year. We learned a lot about what works about that and what doesn't work about that. That position may go back next year. It's already in the budget. We want to make sure we have that full conversation with the public so they can see what we didn't fill this year and what we've learned and why we're going to add it back. What we didn't fill this year, what we learned and why we're not bringing it back. What we may need to focus more on in order to have our Project Lead the Way work in science more enhanced at the elementary level. How we might want to look at caseloads around our team chair role and maybe put that position back that we didn't fill last year because we're seeing caseloads in the 100s, not the 50s for folks. So we're going to provide a parallel list of things that we think that we need to reduce in order to make our budget target number for the FY27 allocations. But we're also going to continue the work because we already started it. We think it's important for the community to know that we're not always looking to add. We're looking to realign, look at what's working, look at what we can improve, and how we want to redistribute our resources in order to what we would consider to be make more improvement in our schools. That's not an add to the budget. That's reallocating what we have and moving it forward. Then when we got to the point where we needed to know that found out that would be a reduction, we have to then have that conversation as well. So just preparing the school committee for that kind of dual conversation, because it can be complicated. How are you laying off X amount of educators, but still adding something? That's we're really going to have to strategically have that conversation to make sure that we do it with clarity and transparency, and also obviously meet the bottom line number that we're providing for FY27. So we will be sending that information out to the school committee over the weekend in advance of next Wednesday's meeting. And given the news that we received late last night into today, we have created a list of reductions and realignments that we're already meeting with people who are potentially on the list of reductions. That might change given the news that we got today, where instead of being 1.4 in need of reductions, we're now down to 1 million. So there'll be further iterations that we'll do between now and next Wednesday. But we are communicating with staff. The reason why we have kept this process internal right now is because every discussion about a role or an FTE is someone's job. And we really want to keep it tight and keep it confidential, and then prepare a professional and respectful rollout of that discussion with each employee before we have that conversation in person and on TV at Finance next Wednesday. So that's why it's been not disclosed fully to the community, because we want to have those discussions first. So we will let the full group of folks know who were in the 1.4 level of reduction. That doesn't mean that they'll end up on the list, because we actually have a better number to meet. And I echo the work that Nick and Amy have done, and the work that they've done collaboratively with Katie and I, and obviously all the work that the select board and the school committee are doing in order to have these conversations. And these are hard conversations. They happen every year, especially when it comes to how do we impact reserves in a positive way to be sustainable moving forward, and the needs that we have right now. These are annual discussions that we will always be having. And also wanting to know, the public to know, that we have two budgets to right size and maintain a fiscal, have fiscal clarity. So when we go out for a new superintendent, we can say that we have a balance sheet that makes sense, that we have clarity on our budget work framework moving forward with the town, and that is a selling point, that's reset and ready to go, along with the systems that Katie has put in place in the way in which we have handled the budget this year. Again, this year has been done very well. We have the money needed. We've spent it effectively. We've covered expenses and salaries all the way through June. This is a very tight process, and this is how it should continue. This is the work. This is how it should look. This is how we'll look forward. And that hopefully can be a good story for every candidate out there thinking about becoming a superintendent of school. That's the goal for the next year and a half.
So thank you all for all the work you've been doing on this. For next week's finance, for the next 2 finance subcommittee meetings leading into the next full school committee meeting on the 25th. I think you said this will be a part of the conversation, but at finance today, there was sort of the discussion of various options for where to try to put that 500,000 towards reserves, strategy for that. And I kind of heard I heard you, Superintendent Phelan, articulate sort of a rationale for one option, and then there were still options left on the table, though. So I heard them sort of expecting that we would respond with that. That will be part of your discussion, I'm guessing. And then also it will just be, I think you named both of you the tension. So if there will be any shifts to the recommendations, given this 500,000, that will be part of the discussion that we'll have at the 25th. Or so you're going to bring us your recommendation, and it may or may not include an adjustment to the strategy of like how much in the reserves and why. I just think that we do need to have that full conversation at this meeting to help the community understand the strategy, even having named that it's inherently difficult, no matter what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think that we need to have the discussion next Wednesday about, to your point, what is the best mechanism, in our opinion, for how that $500,000 lands in the school's budget
Right.
or the town special education stabilization account, which is currently not populated with money. And the group would populate that money there or with us or in the other two. So there's 4 options. And I think Katie and I should work with Nick to make sure that technically we understand how that would happen if we were to make a recommendation. The second discussion is if, in fact, we are going to use any of that $5,000 to mitigate the $1 million reductions or not, or to what degree we think we should. And I think part of that would be putting everything that we have right now on the table. It's probably in excess of the 1 point, but that is tallies up to 1.4, and then bringing that back and having that discussion and finding out if that money should be used partially for reducing FTEs or fully put into that revolving account that would suit the town well. Both uses of those funds are helpful.
Right.
But we just have to make a decision on how we want to land on that for not only FY27, but to the discussion early today, and also in recognition of how we want to prepare ourselves for FY28 and 29, knowing that we have continued revenue struggles and expense struggles that we have to navigate along with the town. And then after that is done, that we want to then talk, just let people know through. So we also have to, as a secondary conversation, Katie and I want to talk a little bit about balances for revolving accounts in general. The general amounts that we think would be appropriate. We'll go to the guidelines. We can put together a quick summary of what that could look like. And also we have to talk about fees. Remember, now we're making reductions in the non-salary part of our budget. And part of that will be made up with fees potentially. So we are going to recommend fees for transportation that will help offset the bus that we would like to add. We will be looking for requests for fees for increases in rental that we do per hour for our facilities in the schools, for athletics, and also for clubs and activities. I heard very much at the 3 PTO meetings I had been at the last 3 weeks. We're willing to pay more for that if we can just make sure that we can continue that kind of service delivery. So I'm not a big fan of fees. I think public schools should be public, and I think they should be accessed with the public tax dollar, but they're just part of the world that we have right now. So we will come with a recommendation over the next 2 finance meetings for that, because that kind of broadens or fills in the picture of what might have to be reduced and what might be able to be maintained. So there's a lot of work in the next 2 to 3 weeks that we want to do. And there'll be a lot of hard conversations to have, but we'll work through it. And I'm glad we had hard conversations tonight or this afternoon with the select board and the town administrator and that group, because those are the kind of conversations that start to build understanding. I think Nathan said that there was a couple of comments that Nick made that really provided clarity and context around certain parts of the process that was helpful for us to understand. And so the continued conversations will help, and the partnership is appreciated with the select board and the town administrator and the treasurer.
Sure. Katie, I'm gonna look at you on the vendor warrants. I believe we already voted, looked at the motions from last meeting. We already voted 28, 29. Not voted, but announced them. Don't think I have signed. Okay, so there's no vendor warrant announcements to kind of up. So those will be next.
Would you like MFE update?
So MFE met this past Monday to talk. There are 2 parts of the meeting. The first part is approving the grant proposals. We have received 40 grants, and we approved it, all of it, except 3 of them. And there was one regarding headphones classroom that we managed to ask the teacher for the reason of why, the rationale behind. And the other 2, it was a request about the Pierce Middle School welcome center, the entrance, like buying a bench for the entrance, and Principal Keiko was there, and she suggested maybe the workshop, the student who are doing the workshop, who works at high school, can build that bench for them, and it will be 1 minute for as a community input as well. And then there was another one that I couldn't remember.
There was one that was that may be curriculum based that we were going to talk to the principals about as to that should be funded by the school from MFE. Want to thank Bob for being there. We all are around and Carla spent time with the group before that meeting to review every single grant and then check in with some of the teachers. Over $50,000 worth of grants funded. Incredibly excited to be a part of the MFE group that's so excited to give money away. It's the nicest place to be. And they actually provided supper for all of us. And so I also want to thank the teachers that came to help evaluate. You know, they sat there as well.
Yeah.
It's a fun night to go through the grants.
And applications come from all 6 schools, and the educators who were there, they were able to tell us the behind the scenes stories of supporting why this kind of request is necessary and why we should be approving them. You know, so there's a range of different applications, including like preschool classroom rugs to Spanish reading books and French reading books as well. And there's a lot of different kind of varieties. So I want to thank the educators who presented at the meeting and providing their side of the point of views for us to make that sound decisions.
So this is the 30th year celebration of the Foundation for Education. They are an amazing group. They've done incredible work for 30 years. The amount of money raised and put right back into your children's classrooms, whether they donated money several years ago for Chromebooks or iPads or monitors on the wall that we use in classrooms every day, curriculum, materials. You can't walk into a classroom and build public schools without pointing to something that was purchased by the MFE over the last 30 years. We are thankful for people like Wendy New, who dedicate so much time, and her whole staff. When I say staff, I mean staff of volunteers that do a tremendous amount of work. I will be with them next Monday when they introduce the new members. I think they're introducing 5, so they'll be after we have negotiations. I'll head over to Blue Hills and go to that reception to welcome those folks and set the tone for greeting them with a big smile and a lot of gratitude for taking part in the work of the MFE. So thankful, and more news continuing to be updated for what the celebration will look like.
I think there's 7 members.
Say that again.
I think there's 7.
7 new members.
Yes.
I think it was 7 names.
Yeah, and they will make the total number of the MFE members to 20. Yeah, they did a whole rounds of recommendations received from current members and community members who sent them the recommendation. Interviews, coffee, meetings with those candidates, and discussions about that at the MFE meeting on Monday, and approving leadership for the applicants.
You're still on it. You get better. More committees.
I'm not going. I don't think I can go. You can take my place.
About
That's it. Great.
next up, we have the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Yes. Good. Questions or comments? If not, then I will just approve the minutes. Don't make a motion.
Second.
All the we will do a roll call vote. Anna,
Yes.
Ethan,
Yes.
Lizzie, yes. Val,
Yes.
Yes.
and I yes. Next, looking at the meeting agenda, the draft agenda for. Say this again. Looking at the agenda items for the next meeting, we have the program of studies vote. Is there a presentation?
I believe that is
That's not like right there. I think we have the data review. Oh yeah, actually,
the
just
vote at the same night.
yes,
So,
yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Next week will be a thick week. It will be the program of studies vote. Hopefully, will be relatively short, given the presentation tonight. The second appearance of Kat Young, not Kat DeRoche. Kat Young got married for the early literacy and their choices about high quality materials that we'll be purchasing for early literacy, and the district data that we waited to take place next week, so that the mid-year data can come forward. And then subcommittee reports. We postponed a couple of other items because that's going to be a thick night. We'll have budget as well, and tonight was a thick night, so we're in the year where we're having some content that we want to put in front of the community and the school committee. So we appreciate everybody being ready for an informative night when we get back to the 25th.
There should be a short summary about the high school rep meeting.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
And policies meeting.
Tosh,
Policy and facilities meet on the 10th.
yeah, whatever policy facilities, we have capital, we'll have sites. Yeah.
Budget coordination.
What did you say? Or somebody just found you just said
High school rep.
high school. I think that covers it. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Fair second. Great. Anna,
Yes.
David, Lizzie, yes.
Yes, Mark.
Emma, yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.